So for a while, and I'll talk more about that tomorrow, but I think that's the gist of it in terms of me. I feel like I could say so much more, but I'll keep it simple for tonight. And then, yes, so this is Bryce.
Hello. Hey guys. Yeah, I am, I guess I just finished my, no, I don't guess, I know. I finished my third year at BSSM, originally from Houston. My dad was in the Houston Grand Opera, which is kind of cool. Any opera fans? Yeah, so that was kind of my background. Was much more classical, much more kind of neat and tidy, and then started doing worship when I was probably like a lot of us in youth group or something. And then just really felt to go to Bethel, and so I've been learning a lot for the last few years as well under Joanna about vocals and stuff. Did a big pivot from, Cod Romeo Ben to, You Came. There's a lot to.
What's Cod Romeo Ben?
Oh, so it's
How
just
does it go?
I think it's Cod Romeo Ben.
Italian opera, classical arias.
Anyway, so my dad's style of teaching, he thought he was teaching like speech level. He wasn't, but we didn't tell him that. And so speech level singing is kind of in the vein of what Joanna teaches. It's much more developed now. So got to connect with her, and I remember I was in your living room. That's where she teaches, and I was like, whoa, what? How? And I started laughing. I was like, how is? Like I feel like I should be like sweating right now. She's like, no, you're great. I was like, how am I singing this high, and I'm not like so tight? That was kind of the beginning of really looking at this technique. We'll talk about that again more tomorrow. But yeah, that was my introduction to it. Really.
Yeah, it might be. I might do some vocal stuff tonight. Probably not, but maybe, depending. If it's helpful to steward getting out what's inside of you, which is kind of the point of prophetic and spontaneous worship, is to get out what's inside of you in a different way than just singing the song as it's written. So, great. Do you want to share anything?
Sure. For the people that don't know me, I'm Danny. I came to Journey Church, 2012, and I played here in youth group and stuff, and then I felt to move to Reading 2-3 years ago, and I've been learning how to, just how to do worship and how to steward that in my own life. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit, just a tiny little bit tonight about that.
And just to give some context, Danny's like one of the best drummers we've had. Like, he's incredible. So you guys are very lucky to have him. Yeah, we're very lucky to have him. Then we have him, but then I get him the rest of the year. Sorry. No, but I wanted him to come and share tonight because a lot of prophetic and spontaneous musically, like the drummer actually gets to lead a lot, and I want to hear it from his perspective. Also, it's fresh for him coming from a different environment into a different environment, and so I think that what he has to share will be really relevant for this is what I used to think, this is what I am doing now, and why it's awesome. So I think it'll be really relevant. How many of you in the room are singers? And then how many of you are not singers but you play in the band? And then how many of you do both? Great, very cool. So singer heavy tonight, which is fine. Is it only the band people here that are playing tonight, or are there other band people here? Okay, cool. Awesome. So tonight I'm just going to dive in. I want to start with talking about the difference between spontaneous and prophetic. Kind of define that for you, and what does that mean for worship. At some point, Mandy might interrupt me and ask me some questions. So do you need a mic, or do you want to just pop up? Okay, just pop up. Yeah, just to facilitate, because she knows you guys and what questions you might have. But I'm just going to start with that. Are we good so far? Yeah. Okay, awesome. So, Holy Spirit, thank you for tonight. Thank you for this beautiful group. Thank you that Bryce and I have the opportunity to be here and just share what we have with them. And I know we're going to be equally receiving from who they are, and we just love them and bless them, and let tonight be awesome and fun and make sense in our spirits. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, here we go. So, a few years ago when I was kind of restructuring this class, I was looking up the definition. So I actually looked up the definition in the dictionary of the word worship. It said the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity, God. So again, worship is the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity. So spontaneous means performed or occurring as a result of a sudden inner impulse or inclination and without premeditation or without external stimulus. So again, you have worship, the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for God. Then you have spontaneous worship, which is performed or occurring as a result of a sudden inner impulse or inclination without premeditation or external stimulus. So something that's happening before you made a decision that it was going to happen. You're making a decision in the moment. Prophetic, I can't actually remember if this was what the dictionary said or this was just what I wrote. But I just wrote expressing the heart of God. Prophetic is expressing the heart of God. So if we're going to talk about the difference between prophetic and spontaneous worship, going back to that definition, is raw, authentic, from the overflow of the heart. It's God connecting to us and us responding out of the revelation that we get from being in communion with Him. So the more we know God, the more we can relate and connect to Him, and the more we hear Him, the more we can respond. So spontaneous is from within. It's something, it's not hearing God. Prophetic is hearing from God. Spontaneous is, what do I have to say? So for example, when you're hanging out with your best friend and they're being a goofball and you're just like, you are a goofball. You just have this spontaneous sense of like, I love you so much, you weirdo. And you might express that. I love you so much, you weirdo. I love you. You are my favorite person. You are so fun. You're so funny. You're just expressing to them out of the overflow of what you feel about them. And you're being spurred on in that moment because you're experiencing something from them. You're experiencing their weird. You're experiencing their kindness. You're experiencing their love. And you're out of the overflow. So when you tell someone you love them, you're not like, okay, at 4 o'clock and 7 seconds, I'm going to tell them that I love them. Like, you're not planning on it, and I'm going to tell them for a minute and a half, so I'm just going to repeat it, so I'm going to say it really slow, so it's spontaneous. You're like, I love you. It's from within. So that's what spontaneous worship is. It's, what do you actually feel toward God? So, I think on some level, spontaneous, I'm seeing if this is in my notes or if I'm just getting ahead of myself. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is in my notes. But as far as spontaneous worship goes, we have to be stewarding our relationship with God in order to know what we feel about Him. Because if we don't, if we have the way we're supposed to feel about God, it's more difficult for us to have a spontaneous feeling. Imagine if you felt that way toward your friend. Oh, I'm supposed to, like, I'm dating someone, I'm married, I'm supposed to tell them that I love them. I love you. Like, oh, I haven't told them I love them in a week and a half. I should probably do that. That's not the same as connecting to it out of your experience. So the more you have a relationship with God, the more you can spontaneously relate to Him and express. Again, spontaneous definition, or the definition of worship, is the expression of reverence and adoration for God. So a spontaneous expression is, oh my gosh, I love you. So often, when you're singing a worship song, when you're connecting to what you're singing about, your promises never fail, your promises never fail. And you're just like, oh my gosh, this thing that God came through for, oh my gosh, He's so good. You're connecting with what you're singing about, and spontaneously. So let's say you wrote a letter for your friend, your best friend, or your loved one, or your sibling, or your spouse, or your parents. You write them a letter, and then when you're done reading the letter, you still have more to say. That's spontaneous. It's connecting to what you've already written out, and there's more. That's what spontaneous is about. So in order to sing spontaneous, we have to have something to say. And it's important to connect with, what do you have to say to God? So I do have this in my notes later, and I want to say it now. But what you do is you steward your relationship with God off the stage, so you have something to say. Meaning, journaling, reading the Bible, quiet time, and devotional, just whatever that looks like driving in the car and being like, oh my gosh, there's a rainbow. God, you are so cool. This whole rainbow thing is just and he speaks to you about promises. And I personally love rainbows. And has anyone been to Hawaii? That's where we go because we're from California, so that's like the closest awesome place. Where do you guys go? Europe or something? Do they have rainbows? Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, so I mean, in Hawaii there are like rainbows everywhere because it's always like raining, and so for me, I feel connected to God when I see rainbows. I feel like, oh my gosh, He's so cool and awesome and weird and beautiful, and so stewarding that relationship off stage is where you can bring it in. If you don't have that, if you only have the programmed vision of like who He is and who He's supposed to be, you're not going to have much to say. Same with any relationship. So if you relate it to relationship, you want that same kind of relationship with God that you have with your friends, that you have with your loved ones. You want to have something to say that's deeper than what's written on the page. And if you don't have that, you're not going to have anything to say. You're not going to be able to sing spontaneously. So that's just spontaneous. So prophetic, this is exciting. Oh no, I jumped ahead, sorry. So spontaneous can also be songs that aren't planned, but that have already been written. So like the chord progression for Alicia Keys, no one, no one, no one, is like in every worship song ever. Get in the way of what I'm feeling. I've sang it at least twice, maybe 3 times in public, like during a set, because I'm like, yeah, this is what I feel. I want to tell him that no one can get in the way of what I'm feeling. And then sometimes I hear him singing it back over me, and I'll tell, like, listen to him sing it over you. No one, no one, no one can get in the way of what I feel for you. And people are like, yeah, and it can be a little bit distracting for a second, because it's like, oh, Alicia Keys, this is really cool. And then it's like, hey, I'm not trying to be cool right now. Actually, that's not why I brought this song up. I brought this song up because it's moving me and I actually want to tell him this. And when you're connected to it, people might be distracted for a millisecond, but when you're like directing it vertical, they're gonna catch on. They're gonna get over their distraction that it's Alicia Keys' song, and they're gonna jump in and be like, this is so cool. So I know for you guys are streaming, and so there's probably legal issues. So some of our services are streamed, and some aren't. So if it's a streamed service, which most of or all of yours are, okay, cool. So not all the campuses are. So that's fun. So if you're singing at a not streamed campus, you can sing whatever you want, because you can sing Alicia Keys. So the other day, actually last week, we were singing, there's this new song, what is it called? Mountains are still being moved. What? This is a move. Yeah, so it's this cool song about giants are still being moved. Na, 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 na. Wonders are still what you do. So we get to the end of the song. I wasn't leading it, the girl. You're feeling it. So we get to the end of the song, and I wasn't leading it. I was co-leading on the set. And she finishes it, and I was singing the next song, and I wasn't like ready to go to the next song because I was feeling something in the room about miracles. Like, wait, something can happen. And actually, that's the bridge is, miracles happen in this room. Heaven is coming when you move. And it's awesome. And I just started singing, there can be miracles when you believe. And so I was like, wow! In the corner. And I'm like, okay, calm down. I'm vertical. But I was feeling it. Because I know when that song came out from Prince of Egypt, you guys know what I'm talking about. Just checking. / Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston. So when that song came out, it was like, I believed in miracles when that song came out. And I still believe in miracles, but there was something that I connected to, so I wanted to sing it. So most of the time when I'm singing spontaneous, it's not Alicia Keys or Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey.
No.
But, I wish, but I'm just saying there is permission to do that if you're not streaming live and have to deal with the whole copyright issue. With spontaneous, just kind of food for thought and guidelines, or a way to make spontaneous feel significant in the room is by actually creating a chorus. So if I'm spontaneously singing, I love you, Jesus, Change my life, still changing me. If I'm just making something up because I'm just like singing from the overflow, finding a chorus that people can jump on. So if I'm just like processing with the Lord, people are going to be like listening. They're not going to know what I'm saying or where I'm going. So they can't really partner with it. That's okay to do for a second or 30 seconds because you have something within that you're expressing. It's going to give other people permission to express what's within. That's totally fine. But then find something that you said and make it a song. Did you have a story about that? Did you have an example?
Yeah, so I was singing in school, and there felt like there was this moment where, kind of what she's talking about, where you're connecting with the Lord, you're connecting with something specific inside the song. And the kindness of the Lord was like just brought to me that his kindness is what leads us to repentance. And so the idea that he's the kindest man I know was kind of the thought that I had. And so it wasn't super like cool. I didn't turn it into a song. And I think that's another pressure we have is like, okay, this is going to be a chorus, and then I'm going to produce it, and then it's going to be a song. No, it just let it be what it is. And so just started singing "He's the kindest man I know," and it felt like that was what the group of people wanted to sing.
Yeah.
And in that sense, yeah. But it was very simple, but it was singable. I think is the point that I'm trying to say. You could jump on it.
Yeah. Did you do that more than once, or did you just do it once?
I think it was just once.
I think I was there for that.
You might have been. No, you were. Right? Yeah. Sorry.
Were you with Josh
This
Baldwin?
doesn't matter.
Was it the day you were singing with Josh Baldwin?
No.
I don't know why I was there.
The first day I was there.
That's amazing. I love that I was there for this. So, because it was awesome, and it was so genuine and so precious. But that's the thing, is Bryce was connecting like to something within him for the Lord, and it literally invited the room to connect to the Lord in that thing. So he's literally singing so sweetly, "The kindest man I know," and I don't remember the melody, but whatever it was, do you remember? Oh, okay. Oh, you were in second? Okay. "The kindest man I know." So whatever the chord progression was, and then the room just, "The kindest man I know," and then the music just starts to lift. "The kindest man I know," and it just was like, oh, we just wanted to, like what Bryce was saying, we just wanted to sing it. So, but it came out of the overflow of his heart. It came out of something he was feeling for the Father, something spontaneously. So he turned it into a chorus so we could all jump on. Because if you went, "You're the kindest man I know," like that one time when I was 7, and then, it's like I can't sing that with you. So, okay, so, yeah, that's good. So prophetic. Do you, any questions so far? Good. Anything to add?
How can you tell when you make it, like, when you invite the room, what if there's not that connection? Like, how many times do you say it before it's like, you've been saying that for 20 minutes, no one's jumping in, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Great question.
You know what I mean?
Bryce?
Yeah, so we just kind of have a rule, 8 to 6 times, 6 to 8 times. If you look out and you're like, "He's the kindest man I know," you just got crickets and you're just like, okay.
Everyone starts sitting down.
Yeah. No, but there is like, and you can feel it out, and there's some of it is a little bit of like boldness of like, don't go 4 times, don't go 5 times, go like 8 times. And then on the 8th time, if you're looking out and it feels like what's happening inside isn't either translating or it's starting to diminish it, not because of fear of man, but just because, that was what it was, and it's over, and that's okay. And not having shame that thing didn't convert or didn't, but it's 6 to 8 times, that's awesome. And if it picks up from there, it can leave. But it leaves you with enough time to know, but not enough to be like, dude, like we know, like we get it.
And it's usually like a line that you sing 6 to 8 times, not a whole chorus.
Right.
That you're singing 6 to 8 times. And the cool thing about it is that the big thing I would say too is confidence. So if you're like, "I don't know about this, I'll just sing it 6 to 8 times." If you don't know about it, they're not going to know about it. Honestly, like we feel it in the room. We're kind of like, "You sure?" And it just doesn't catch. If you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm feeling this," it's still not a guarantee that the room is going to pick it up, but there's a way better chance that they're just going to follow your confidence. Like, oh, they're leading us in this moment. So if it was like, "He's the kindest man I know," anyone feel it? "He's the kindest man I know," versus like how I did it earlier, where I was actually thinking about it. Like, so if you're like, I gotta sing this over the room, like, this is real, he's affecting me in this moment right now. Like, I believe that he's gonna affect them in this moment right now. I'm singing this with confidence. So when you go in with confidence, the room will most likely follow you, even if it's lame. But at the same time, we also have to grow in our taste, like having good taste in what we're singing, in our singability. If I'm like, he's the kindest man I know, like, maybe not 6 to 8 times. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that doesn't really fit the moment. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we have to grow in the way we're delivering what we're feeling. And so that will be a potential reason why the room would pick it up, because maybe the melody's a little funky, or maybe like it's really wordy and it's just like you're not even getting the words right because it's so wordy, you know. So the cool thing is there's space for, as you're growing, there's space for error, there's space for imperfection. You have to kind of give yourself that room to not be perfect and to then get feedback. Because it's like, I think about things like riding a bike. I use this in voice lessons all the time. You don't get on a 2-wheel bike for the first time and ride off into the sunset. You wobble, you do. You wobble, why? Because your body has to feel balance. It has to feel like, oh, this is, use my core. Oh, pedal faster for momentum. Like, it has to feel what's going on. So, and I'll probably say that again tomorrow in a different context, but you have to, anytime we learn anything, I don't like go cook something new for the first time and nail it most of the time. Maybe if you're like really good at cooking everything, then maybe you will nail it the first time. But in the beginning of learning how to cook, probably the thing is going to turn out a little squishy, or a little crispy, or a little salty, or something. It's not going to be perfect yet, because you're just learning. And as you learn, you figure out like, yeah, this feels good. Here's the vein. And the way you do that is you just get feedback by your leaders. Like, hey, how did that feel? Oh, it was a little long. Okay, great. Now I know. That's what a little long feels like. Hey, how was that? Oh man, that was so good. Why did you only do it twice? Like, stick on it. That was awesome. So getting feedback. So that's a great question. Any other questions?
One more thing.
Yes.
Band buy-in is super important.
Oh.
If you're not going to buy in as a band, it just makes the whole thing much weirder. Awkward. One thing Daniel is amazing at. I got to be his intern or whatever. So he was not in charge of me. I was in charge of him. So he made me look really good. So no, but one thing he is amazing at in the band that he was a part of was when the leader would step out, there would be an immediate like, okay, we're gonna hold the one, but maybe we'll suspend it, and it'll feel like, oh, okay, cool. It's not just the leader just doing something, and then he'll come in with whatever he's gonna do. But it feels like, yes, as a band, we're on the same page. You guys come with us where we're going versus what? Speaker.
No, yeah, I was gonna say, like for when the singer's singing, like you said, like just having something behind it, it feels like you're not alone. Like the singer's like, oh, they're with me. So that togetherness of like the singer looking back and you're like, oh, the band is together with me, gives you so much more confidence, and like eye contact, just leading, and just everyone knowing what's happening in the moment is really important.
I love that too, because sometimes, let's say the band person is a more confident person or leader than the leader. And that happens a lot, and that's okay. There are times when I lead where my band is more confident than me, and I depend on their belief in me, and they get to choose me, like, I'm with you, I support you, because if they back me up, even if it's a weird moment, they back me up, I get to go in confidently. If I go in weird and they're like, I don't know how to follow you right now, and then it's like weird for everybody. So having like band buy-in, like I got your back. If they're a better musician than me, like, yes, please have my back. Please don't let me fall on my face in front of everybody. So vice versa, if you're a really strong leader and your band is, you can lead your band well, give them confidence, give them eye contact, look and be like, yeah, let's go. Like chorus, and we'll talk about signals in a second if you guys don't do signals, but like, yes, we're doing this. Like, give people nods, like, if you're a confident leader, give your band the confidence so they come with you, so then the room comes with you. So that's great job, guys. So jumping into prophetic, so prophetic is when the singer releases the prophetic. So something God is saying or doing, what's happening in the room. So if we're talking about healing, miracles happen in this room, heaven is coming when you move, and then we just get to the musical part. He's healing hearts and minds right now. He's healing your body whatever. He's doing a new thing right now. Na, 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 whatever. You're singing about what God wants to do because you're connected to what he wants to do. So it's a prophetic song, is singing like God's heart over the room, over a situation. Sometimes it's, someone here's named Johnny. He just wants to tell you he loves you. It doesn't even have to be like, again, what Bryce said earlier, it doesn't have to be melodically like, whoa. It can just be, I'm just singing a song. This doesn't have to be, I'm going to go take this and track it tonight, and this is going to be like on YouTube tomorrow with 1.5 million hits. Like, it's not, or views or whatever. So the point isn't like, I got to turn this, like this needs to be something awesome. When it needs to be something awesome, it usually isn't. Like, when it's authentic, it can become something awesome. So feel what you're feeling. And again, learning curve. The more you do it, it will start to get more musical. Also, the more you write music, the more you have a feeling for what songwriting feels like. So when you apply it in the moment, it actually comes out a little bit more like songwriting, like a song. But it's okay if it's not. It's okay if, if you're basically talking on pitch and prophesying over someone or over the room. So he's healing hearts and minds right now. Your love is taking us deeper. He's restoring families. We've had like sick kids in our congregation that are literally in the hospital with something like meningitis, and literally they might not make it. And we will sing over them. We will sing, God is bringing you life into your hospital room right now, baby Jackson, who is someone that Raise a Hallelujah was written for, if you've heard that song before. You're singing something that is prophetic. You're singing, you will live and not die. You're singing something. So prophetic is hearing the voice of the Lord and speaking it out. And it's good, and it's encouraging, and it's powerful. And if you've ever heard that phrase, your words create worlds, it's like there is something to speaking something out into the atmosphere and having it become real life. So there's power in that. So I love this. 1 Samuel 16:23. And whenever the tormenting spirit from God troubled Saul, David would play the harp. Then Saul would feel better and the tormenting spirit would go away. I love it. It's like David would just play the harp and Saul would feel better and the tormenting spirit would go away. So it's being aware of, oh wow, I feel like there's a spirit of anxiety in the room. I'm going to speak against that. So whether that's anxiety's leaving, bye, 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 anxiety, whatever. Like it doesn't have to, again, there's not a lot of rules. It's just feeling it out. Okay, so do you want to speak about hearing the voice of God in the prophetic in general?
Yeah, totally. I think the word prophetic is a little, it's a little kind of weird. I don't know, does anybody agree with that? You can nod, you don't have to raise your hand, like, oh, it's weird too. No, but I think, but it has like you hear it in other scenarios that's not necessarily as edifying. And that's the point of prophecy. 1 Corinthians 14, Paul breaks down, this is prophecy, to edify the body. I don't care if you can speak in tongues, if it's not edifying the body, it's a lesser version of what I want for my church, Jesus' church. But the idea being, what she's talking about, is it edifying? So I think sometimes there's a lot of questions, and sometimes we can get a little caught up, is this prophetic, is this spontaneous? I think a lot of times, if we look at it, is it edifying? If someone heard it, I know how many times have we been in a room, I can feel like at Bethel, and someone says, God's given you new hope. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I needed hope, like real bad.
Yeah.
Like today I needed hope. That was the thing, Lord. I walked in and it was either I need that one song or I need someone to say something about hope because I think you forgot about me. And so there's just this moment, we get to be that on stage where we get to, Lord, what are you doing? I want to cultivate in my life a lifestyle of hearing you in any moment. He's always speaking, he's always communing with his body. And so I want to commune with him on stage. What are you saying in this group? If Paul says the most important thing is that you prophesy, then I should probably do it.
Yeah.
Paul's an important character, yes. So and I think we get a little hung up on what does that look like in a worship setting. Kind of what she's saying is using that moment. You can turn it into a song. Fear can't stay anymore, it's gotta go. And then you just go. And you can obviously go off the mic and sing through something, but I think the biggest deal is it encouraging. If someone left, would they feel like they felt the Lord? Would they feel like they encountered Jesus? Is it in line with what he would say with bringing heaven to earth? In the presence of this fullness of joy and pleasures forevermore? Is that what we're bringing into a moment and sending from the stage? If that's true, then that feels like it's pretty in line with what he's doing. And it simplifies just a little bit of like, is this prophecy? I don't know. It is obviously it's important to claim that the Lord's saying it and being like, thus saith the Lord. This is what, but, so I mean, we can make it heavy. It's not heavy, I think, connecting with his heart for people. That's prophecy. I think in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Am I missing something?
No, I was going to say that what you ended with. If it's God's heart, it's prophetic. So I think we can all sense if someone is sad. I think we can all sense if somebody seems not themselves. I think we can all sense when, certain things that are just easy to read on people. And if you can connect with that, is God's desire that they're sad? Is God's desire that they're disappointed? If you know someone is disappointed, a disappointment is like very, very common. In this room right now, there's probably a big handful of us that have experienced disappointment in the last week. So speaking out over disappointment, and often even like what God's telling me about my own life, and I'm hearing him speak it to me. Usually if he's speaking it to me, he's speaking it to somebody else. So if I'm like, God, I've had so much disappointment this week, like, God, what are you saying about that? He's like, hey, there's this one, isn't it just like God to turn our disappointments into a dance floor? Isn't it just like God? It's like a Amanda Cook tag, I think. And it's so fun. And it's just fun because it's like, yeah, she has this one line, you taught my fear to dance upon disappointment, and I will worship. So she took that line of the song and like wanted to continue singing about disappointments and dancing on disappointments. And it just, isn't it just like God to turn our disappointments into a dance floor? And it's like, who can't relate to that? Like that is prophetic for many people that need to dance on their disappointments that day. And it gives them space to do that. And it just, even the melody kind of lifts it and it's like, oh yeah, he's like in this disappointment. He's here. So prophetic is the heart of God for a situation. It's the heart of God. Like, you can never sing about God wants to heal people and have it be wrong. You can say, thus says the Lord. Like, he wants to heal you. He does. And so when you know God's nature and you know that he's good, there's so much you can sing about. Now, for me, and I think I have this later in my notes as well, but it's the asking God before the set, like, what do you want to do today? Like, and if you have a sense, like, man, there are some brokenhearted people today. There are broken hearts, and he wants to sing. He wants to love on people and with broken hearts. Great. So if there's a space in a song where you're like, oh, here it is. If it comes to mind, that's prophetic. That's prophetic. We have the mind of Christ. We have the mind of Christ. We are so much more connected to him than we even think, I think. So when we have, you can't be wrong. When you have the mind of Christ and you know the nature of God and you have a relationship with him and you know your Father, when you sing about God wants to heal your heart, he's healing hearts right now. You can't go wrong because it's what he wants to do. It's always on his heart to heal hearts. It's just something that you picked up on because it's something that you felt because you asked before the set or you felt you had a sense about it. So I don't know how many of you connect with having a sense about it, but it's easier than we think. It can come in the form of random thoughts. It can come in the form of like, oh, yeah, random thoughts. Like, oh, I wonder why I'm thinking about that right now. It can come in the form of memory. It can come in the form of like, why did I just think about Susie who's going through a breakup? Why did I just think about so-and-so who just had to put their dog down? Like, why did I just think about that? Oh, God wants to comfort. Comforter, you're here. You're You're with us always, Comforter. Great. Singing about the Comforter. That is prophetic because he wants to do it. Okay, so, anything? Okay. Also, this is later in my notes, but I'm bringing it up early. But what is your connection to the song? Why are you singing that song today? And I know here sometimes the songs you don't necessarily pick your song, right? Like the songs are chosen. Yes. So you might be singing a song that like isn't the one that's burning on your heart that week, but that you do have a connection to that song. We all connect to these songs. So how and where do you connect to that song? And that is the best place to bring spontaneous or prophetic to this song, is asking God or feeling beforehand or knowing what is it that I'm feeling connected to. I want to elaborate on that. I want to elaborate on my connection to the song. If it's faithfulness, sing about how he was faithful, or how deeply you know his faithfulness, or how you want to see it more. So connecting in that way. Okay. Okay, really quick. Sometimes a spontaneous song can turn prophetic. So I was doing this, like, some inner healing stuff with a counselor, learning about self-love. And I was never someone that connected with self-hatred. Like, that wasn't a thing that I felt connected to. But I realized, oh wow, I don't actually super connect with self-love. And I have a constant inner critic that's very verbal and vocal in my thought life. And I wasn't super aware of it until I started going to counseling. So as I'm like doing this counseling, this is like a year ago, maybe 2 now, where I started singing, and it just felt really vulnerable and raw, but whatever it was, teach me to love myself the way you love me, God. Teach me to love myself. And I'm like, this is just a moment, this is just spontaneous. Like, they don't need to sing this. And then I hear the Lord sing, yeah, they do. And it turned prophetic. I was like, okay, somebody in the room needs to sing this with me. So I knew that it wasn't everyone in the room, but I knew that it was enough people that the Lord was like, hey, let's do this. This is actually for them. Thank you for being vulnerable. Good job. This is for them too. Teach me to love myself the way you love me, God. And people started like sobbing, and it was just like wild. So it was something spontaneous. It wasn't something that I felt like, this is what he's doing. I just felt like, oh, this is what I want to say to you from the overflow of my heart. And it turned prophetic. Okay. I want to read you this really beautiful excerpt that Kim Walker from Jesus Culture wrote about flowing with the Spirit. Just trying to organize my thoughts, because I feel like I might want to say a couple more things before doing that. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say this before, and then we'll do that. So don't just sing something just to try to make something happen because that's what you think you're supposed to do either. Like, sometimes that's okay when you're in the learning curve. It's like, oh, I want to do this prophetic thing, spontaneous thing. And you're trying and you wait, and you'll probably get feedback like, yeah, try again. You might get feedback when you're just trying to make something happen. But the best thing to do, give yourself space, wait, feel. What does your heart want to say? Again, and what is God saying to you? So sometimes the best thing to do is to stop singing and give the band permission to play, and for it to be prophetic musically. Sometimes the prophetic song isn't in the vocal, it's in the violin, it's in the guitar, it's in the keyboard, it's in the drums, it's in the bass. Like, I've been in the room where every instrument has had, like, they are leading the room prophetically. Like, when it's drums, it's like, it's intense and awesome. It's literally like the heartbeat of God. I feel my chest move, like, I can feel heaven. The bass, there's something where you're just like, whoa, you feel safety, you feel secure, you feel like, it's wild what can happen when we're aware of what our instruments carry prophetically. Violin, I often feel the angelic keys, I often feel the angelic, Yeah, guitars are fun because depending on what sounds they're using, it can range what the guitars are releasing. Often it's comfort, often it's like depth, often it's just something that cuts to the heart. So knowing what your instrument brings prophetically is really important, because it's important to recognize that as a vocalist when you're like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. It's probably because you're not meant to do anything. Someone behind you has it. Be aware, pay attention to them. Give them time, give them space.
Yeah, but I started thinking of something that is like a really good tool for me. I don't know if it was Jen Johnson that does it, but it's the green light, red light thing. Where it's like, I always sit back and I shut my eyes and I'm like, Lord, is it a green light or is it a red light? Like, am I supposed to go right now? Like, I want you to show me what to do. And oftentimes, like, I literally see it, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to go, I'm supposed to do this right now. But it's always shutting your eyes and being like, Lord, is it time to do what I'm feeling, or is it time to wait? So the green light, like red light thing is a really good tool for me to use.
And often I'll talk to my musicians beforehand. I personally love, if I'm going to come off the mic, I really love when my keyboard player plays on the high end of the keys and plays like arpeggios and melodies, and just, I call it twinkle. When they give me some twinkle, I'm just like, oh yay, I just feel heaven. You know, swirly, yeah. And it's fun, but when you give them permission beforehand, like, hey, when I back off the mic, please play something. Please don't wait for anything, like, it's you. I'm telling you right now, it's you. So do it. Like, not as in bossy, as in empowering.
When does that conversation happen? Is this like a rehearsal, or when do you, like, when were you taught that to?
Yeah, during rehearsal, sometime before the set. Sometime either during rehearsal, after rehearsal. So sometimes I'll just walk up to them and I'll be like, hey, when I come off the mic, feel free. Sometimes I'll say into the mic during rehearsal so everyone hears, hey guys, when I come off the mic, and often I'll eye contact is really, really important, because often I know that I want the guitarist to start shredding in like 10 seconds. And I'm like looking at them and they're like right here, and I'm like, look at me! You can't shred if you're not looking. Don't you want to shred? You want to shred, like, come on. And they're just like, so I think just telling them, hey, I'm probably going to look at you around this time, so be aware, because I'm going to look at you. And I'll just look at them and I'll be like, go! And they're like, oh! And I'll like barely get in there. So, but it's cool as a worship leader to be aware of that, because it's so much more fun for the band when they're like, oh, like, I'm not just playing. Like, how fun is that? It's literally like being in a garage jamming out with your friends, but you're like loving the Lord. And like, it's so fun for the band when they get to take ownership of what's happening musically. It's so fun. It's like one of the most fun things I think the band can do. It can be stressful when you don't know what you're doing and how to do it, and when it gets messy and gross. But when you start to figure out your flow and when is your time to shine and work with each other, it's magical. It's magical, and it makes worship like the most fun genre to play, because you get to be creative and partner with the Creator, and you get to prophesy with your instrument. You literally get to say like, there is healing, and I do that when I sing. I'm like, there's healing in my voice. Sometimes I'm just gonna sing oh, and someone is gonna have breakthrough. Like, they're gonna have breakthrough. When I get this note, someone is gonna get freedom from A, B, and C. Because I'm singing with, there's something in the quality of the sound of my voice, and it's going to break something off of them today. Same thing with the instruments. Like, the violin is just like heart melting, softening. So people that come in with hard hearts, violin, do you guys have violin? Oh, yes. Where are you at? Hey, girl. Yes. So, like, heart melting. It's like, give your violin player time and space to shine. I think some of the low moments are the best, and when keys go and twinkly and you guys play off of each other, it's magical, and there's something warm, like we feel the warm fuzzies of heaven when that happens. So it's important, singers, leaders, to know what the instruments do, and it's important, band, to know what your instrument does. So when you're playing with partnering with heaven, you're playing with intentionality. You're not just like, what's a cool line to shred? It's like, yeah, cool isn't really what we're going for. But if you partner with heaven, it will be cool. It's just not the priority, right? Does that make sense? None of that was in my notes. I'm really glad we talked about it, though. Okay, and then practice. So this is cool. In your own personal time and with the band. So as a singer or as a band member, like when you go home, if you play an instrument, if you're a singer and you go home, so I don't actually play. When I play piano, I feel like I'm a fourth grader. So I'm not super inspired by my own playing. So for me, it's the most fun when I can be with someone that plays and just feel out. What do I feel when I sing this song? Hey, David, Funk, our keys guy. Hey Dave, will you just play the chorus for me a few times? And I can feel, and I can be like, and he can either do twinkles or he can just play the chorus straight. And I can just feel what I'm feeling. And I can feel what I'm thinking. And I can feel how my heart is being moved. So you can do that, doing that before you get to your rehearsals is amazing because you already have like a connection, a creative connection with this song. And when the space comes, you have an idea of where you might want to go, and that's totally fine especially when you're just starting out. Does that make sense? Trial and error is okay, it's how we learn. Sometimes I get something prophetically, lyric-wise in advance that doesn't end up fitting as the set develops. So, like, we'll do 2 sets, so the team, I'm a Friday night, Sunday leader, so I'll lead on Friday night, and then I'll lead on Sundays at a different campus. And so, with that, sometimes Friday something awesome will happen. Well, recently it was hilarious. My drummer it was a 6/8 song, and I wanted to make it dancing. He just straight up turns into 4/4. I was like, okay, we can do that. And so we get to Sunday, and I'm like, look, we don't have to do that again. He was like, thank you. I was like, well, we didn't have to do it in the first place. I know that 6/8 is like hard to be like dance party, but still, like waltzing. Yeah. But still, like, and that was cool. It was like, okay, fine. We turned it into 4/4. It like blew up on Friday night. And, like, everyone's sweating. We're partying so hard. It was awesome. And it was great. That was spontaneous. He decided to make it 4/4. I didn't mind. It wasn't what I had in mind, but great, cool. Let's roll with it. And so he's still thinking about how to party at 6/8. It is hard to party at 6/8. So I don't know. Maybe you guys know how to do it. So, what are my thoughts? Friday to Sunday. So we get to Sunday and it's like, hey, we don't have to do that again. Like, let's do something else. Even if I start singing this line that feels like it's supposed to be 4/4, just stay in 6/8, it's fine. It's fine, just leave it. So, or I might come up with a whole theme that God wants to do that I'm feeling like, oh man, healing hearts on Friday, and then we get to Sunday and I'm like, oh, adoration of heaven. I'm just gonna adore. That's fine. Just because it was awesome on Friday, often it's like, let's not do it again. It was spontaneous. It's not gonna be spontaneous today. At the same time, sometimes it was so good, I'm just like, I gotta do it again. I'm just feeling it again. I am. So just stay true to your heart, stay authentic, and don't repeat something because it worked. That's gonna suck the life out of it. When I was talking about waiting on the Lord, allowing the band to play out and create, I wrote, band can make or break prophetic moments. So that's great. I mean, so can leaders, so whatever. We can all make or break them, and that's the whole learning thing. Did you have something?
For that too, I feel like musicians are sometimes afraid to come in because sometimes we get this, and it feels like we're so offended, and it's like, no, not really, you know what I mean? Like, they were just feeling something different, but don't be afraid to come in and getting this. It doesn't mean they hate you, or that they're never going to schedule you again. It's just, it was just like, it was just not the moment, but you were feeling something, you were faithful in what the Lord, you thought the Lord was doing in that moment. So don't be afraid to come in, just, doing symbols or doing stuff, and just getting this, it's not the worst, like, offense in the world. It's just not the moment. You didn't do anything wrong.
That's good. Did you guys see his signal? He said getting this. Yeah, sometimes it can feel like, shut up! And so do you know what's funny about that too, though? I love what you said, don't get offended, because sometimes as a leader, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we want. We don't actually know what you have in mind. If we knew, we would have been like, oh, that would have been perfect. We didn't know. So it's a trust building thing too, because after the set, you can say like, hey, it could have felt awesome to build here. Like, I'll follow you wherever you go. Like, always honor the leader, of course. And that's the thing. If your heart is postured toward each other to serve each other, that's the bottom line. It's not about me versus you. It's like when we get competitive, it gets messy and gross. It's like, no, this isn't about I'm trying to shut you down. This is about I'm trying to learn how I feel what I feel. And that is a little bit of a bummer for the band because the band is serving the leader. But if you can come up and say like, hey, it could feel, next time we do it, it could feel really awesome to build there. Me as a leader, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I actually feel encouraged that I have an option that someone's gonna back me up in. So when you're not offended, you can do that versus like, oh, she just keeps telling me to bring it down when I want to build, you know, and it's one of those things. And I actually have we call it the Bethel build. Maybe we'll do some tonight. But with this build, sometimes for me, I actually feel like we can get so programmed to do the Bethel build that it like, hey, wait, can we just like be sweet for a while? Like, what if we're sweet for like 10 minutes? People are like, what? Like, what do you mean? But it's like, seriously, can we just be sweet for a while? Can we build when we're ready to build and not just because we're like, well, what else are we gonna do? I guess we'll build. So I have a drummer specifically, he was one of my former interns, and he just loves to build. And I'm like, hey, just don't build until I give you a signal. And he, you know, he's always like, oh, fine, you know? But for me, I'm just like, yeah, I just want the sweetness. And then there's often a moment where it just feels right, and he'll go for it. And then I'm like, yeah, you're right. I didn't give you the signal. Good choice, though. So building trust with each other is key. And trust, you get to build trust by believing the best about each other. Literally, believe that they're not out to get you. They do not hate you. They're just trying to figure themselves out, and vice versa. So if you have ideas, share them, but share them with knowing like, hey, I want to do this for you. I have this great idea for you, because this will be fun for all of us if I do it. However, if you don't get it yet, that's okay too. You're just learning as well. So great. I am gonna do a little bit more practical. I'm just rearranging my notes just in spontaneously. Because I just feel like we're in a good flow about practicals, and then I'm gonna redo the Kim Walker thing, which is awesome. But as far as like some of the practicals, so with the band, actually, I was going to say planning the prophetic. I think I'm going to talk about band and singers. I'm still being spontaneous, I'm going to switch it. So singers, singing out your own song. Sometimes if you don't know what you want to do, back off the mic and just start humming melodies. So give the band a signal. So make sure, if you guys don't do signals yet, learn them, because that's how we roll with spontaneous. Is like, what are we doing? Oh, chorus. Oh, chorus. Like, it's really simple. Like, it's not like, what random new 4 chords are we going to play now? No, we're not going to play any random new 4 chords. We're going to play some of the chord structure in the song. It's going to be this one, the bridge chords, or this one, the chorus chords. Or maybe this one, the tag chords. So if there's, or like a pre-chorus. So if there's something you want to do. So the best thing, you plan ahead. When you're learning, plan ahead. Don't spontaneously decide the chords. Absolutely not. We're spontaneously deciding the lyrics, not the chord progression. Does that make sense? So sometimes people get freaked out by prophetic because they're like, oh, what chords are we going to play? It's like, pick one. Chorus, bridge. It's very safe for all. Because it already feels like it's happening in the song. It feels familiar. It doesn't feel weird. It has a vibe. We already know what it feels like as a band. So just start there. And then sure, once in a while if there's an empty and you're like, let's throw 2 in there. Fine. Throw your 2 in there. That's fine. Or your 6, or whatever you want to throw in that feels really cool because it's going to do something fun. No problem. But for the most part, keep it simple. So decide, and also decide beforehand. So singers, decide beforehand. And if you're not sure, say, hey band, will you guys just play through the chorus real quick? And then you come off the mic. And you just feel out like a melody, and you just feel out like, what are you thinking about, what are you feeling as they're playing, and then you come back on, na 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 na, whatever it is that you came up with, your melody. And sometimes you might not even sing lyrics yet. You might sing la la la, or o, or a, or ah, or whatever, that just feels like you're flowing in something spontaneously, but everyone's on the same page because the band is playing the same chords. And then sometimes, let's say you're in bridge chords and you're like building it up and it gets really big and you're like, we're gonna go back to the chorus, everybody. You know, what are you doing? Promises never fail. Yeah, so if you're on bridge chords and you're like building it up and you're like, and I know your thoughts, your plans for me are good. So after the spontaneous prophetic stuff, you bring it back to something that everybody can sing, and it's awesome. But you're signaling it, so it doesn't have to be like, I hope we're on the same page, and or your music director deciding for you that you're going back to the chorus and you weren't ready to go yet. That wasn't your decision. So you want to learn what you want, and that will be trial and error, and you want to signal loud and proud, even if it's wrong. In band, you're going to roll with it, even if it's wrong, and then they're going to learn, oh, should have done the bridge one more time. Yep, and that's okay. Does that make sense? Okay.
I was also going to say, so it's super simple. Obviously, chorus, bridge, verse 1, verse 2, verse 3. And then location is cool too. If you're like, let's go, this is chorus. It's like, be quiet, that's a chorus, right? And then if we're like, hey, we're doing the chorus again, right? Same meter, same thing, we're doing the same thing. So you can communicate dynamic and chord progression, so you don't be like,
The
I don't
worst.
want anybody in here to see it. And the band's like, what are we doing? And you're like, no, I
Was that a
just
C or a bridge? Where is it
exactly,
from?
yeah. And just be like, because if I'm with a band that I'm
That's real.
not
That's
like
not-
super, yeah, I hit the thumb. What are you doing? If I'm with a band I'm not totally confident with, I'm like eye contact. I'm like, hey.
Absolutely.
And it's okay, and it's fine. And they're like, thank you, let's do the chorus.
It's confidence building and trust
Totally,
building.
it is, because now I know what I'm doing. I don't go, oh, yeah, and then you feel like a goober because
Yeah,
you're like,
and your guitar player was totally feeling chorus,
Totally in
and
the
the keys
chorus.
player was
Oh,
totally
you're
feeling
right, my
bridge.
bad. Yeah. So that's one thing that helped me a lot is like, but I don't want to be that big. Well, then don't put it that high. So just bring it down a little bit, bring it down, easy.
Well, and that's the thing. If you're trying to be secretive and you're like behind the back,
Doesn't-
low chorus,
Nobody cares.
and they want to, nobody cares.
No,
They
and
care
I
that the
don't say that
music
to you.
sounds awesome. Not that they
Yeah.
saw your hand do a C.
Hey, he's going to the chorus.
And I'm like, ooh. And the reality is most people are here anyway. So they're not watching you do a C in the air, and if they are, they'll get over it. Yeah, that's great. Something else. Tag, talk through what your signals are, because some people will do this, and then, all right, and the drummer's like, this means end for us. So if they're like, I love God, and the drummer's like, boom, crash out, oh, big crash! And they're like, wait, I was just worshiping. So, or some people they'll just worship with their hand. Actually, I think you do this. And when I do this, I mean 4 on the floor. Give me 4 on the floor, drummer. So I have to talk to my drummer beforehand, am I maybe 4 on the floor? What do you want to see? Do you want the number 4? Do you want me to kick? Do you want to see the kick? What do you want? Because I want you to know when I say floor on the floor, I want you to know what I mean when that's what I want. So that's important as well, because sometimes this might not be, the drummer might say, I don't like that, because that also is end. So you just might want to be emphasizing we're ending right now. I don't know. So communicate with your band, and band communicate with your leader, hey, instead of that one, can we do this one? That's okay. But for the most part, everything's the same. Bridge, chorus. I actually think a straight bridge is okay too, because it can, your thumb literally can get hidden if you're trying to do it behind you, and so your hand is to the side, and they're like, was the thumb down or not? That's real. It really is. So make sure your wrist is up. I used to get in trouble with my band all the time. Make sure your wrist is up for that C, and not lazy, because then they might think it's a bridge. But if you keep straight bridge, then they'll probably assume something curvy is a chorus. But again, just the more clear the better. Okay, cool. Planning which chord progression, what's the easiest to feel and flow. So if you're a leader that knows what you want, communicate that. If you're a leader that doesn't know what you want, ask your MD. Ask someone in the band who's going to have an opinion, and great, give it a shot. It's so awesome to have that flow with, because there are songs if I'm leading for the first time, I'm like, I don't know, what do I want to flow on? And someone in the band's like, chorus, definitely chorus. All right, great, let's try that. And then sometimes I'm like, that was your opinion, and we're not going to do that. Thank you for that opinion. I tried it, I'm not feeling it, let's do the bridge. Ah, that feels better. Great, and they're fine with that. Until you have a solid history with each other, reading each other's minds, which can happen, which is awesome. For the most part, we're not psychic for a while. But have a plan. Until you have a solid history, have a plan. So, no? Okay. How to play. Create, swirl, twinkle, explore. Take calculated risks. Work with each other. Look at each other. Be a team. Pay attention to the style. This one's good too. Pay attention to the style of the worship leader and what might inspire them to sing out. So it's interesting because, especially for drummers, because if drummers are like, hardcore, and I'm like an R&B singer, I'm going to be like, I am not inspired to sing what is on my heart right now. And so certain, like, I want more of a groove. I want more of an R&B groove. Like that, I will be inspired if I have a groove. But if it's just like, smash, smash, I'm probably not going to be as inspired. So I think it's really important to know, like, what, or even like keys players. Some people might just want the pad, just really simple. I like arpeggios on the high end. Some people like stuff on the low end. And I'm always like, go higher, higher. And so for me, it's what inspires me. So know what inspires you as a worship leader. Know what inspires you as a musician. Musicians know what inspires them. Ask your worship leaders, what do you listen to? What inspires you? And if they're like some weird, obscure band that you've never heard of, listen to it. Well, that's what I did today. I was standing in the bus today. What's it called? Bus band. In the bus today. Like, what's inspiring you? And I listened to it. I was like, okay, all right. Good to know. Now, listen to what inspires me. Just kidding. Great, signal. Oh, this is really good. And then we're gonna start transitioning to getting you guys on stage. MD versus leader. Who's leading the flow? Dun, dun, dun. So here's my rule of thumb. My rule of thumb is, if you're a stronger musician than the leader is a leader musically, think of them as your little sister or little brother, that you are like, how can I help them do what is on their heart to do? Because what happens is, the band leader is doing what serves the song best or the room best, and not the leader best, and the leader feels like they're following in their own song. And then it's disconnecting relationally in the band. So if you're an MD, learn your people. If they don't know who they are as a leader yet, be a pastor. Like, ask them questions, figure it out. Again, ask what inspires them. So that way, like musically, we will all have so much more fun if we're on the same page. And even if it's not our favorite style, because often it's not. Most of the time, worship music isn't our favorite style. I asked Danny the question today, like, if you could go on tour with a band, like, who would you go with? And I think if you guys were to ask yourself that question, that's going to help you know what inspires you, what kind of music inspires you. There is a slim chance that that's going to be the same style that your worship leader is inspired by. So there is something in us that needs to connect with other styles, because we are serving their vision. And if it's not, then we're on different pages, we're disjointed, we're not unified. And it isn't as fun. It is more fun to play a style that you hate together than it is to play a style that you love disconnected. Like 100% more fun. So MD, if you're a better musician, which you probably are, than the person leading, just get an idea for who they are, what inspires them. So, for example, Amanda Cook loves to bring it down on the one at the end. So she just waits. Bring it down, so she'll give the one, like, hey guys, we're going to the one. Bring it down, hold the one. It gives her space to feel. Jen does it too. Space to feel, space to feel. So they're swirling. The bass is just holding it down on the one. Maybe the drum is doing some swirly stuff. What do you call them? Brushes, cymbals. Yeah, just some swirly stuff on the drums. Keys, maybe it's just pad, maybe there's some twinkles. Guitars are probably just doing some swells, nothing major. We're just hanging on the one. And they might just sing something kind of monotone. I don't know what you're doing right now, but you're here, you're here, you're here. Okay, fine. And eventually, they'll be like, all right, yeah, let's go to that chorus. Or the MD is going to be like, I feel, oh, she's doing something. Let's go to the chorus. But you're doing it to serve her or him. You're not doing it because it's cool. You're not doing it because it's what you want. You're doing it because you think it's probably what they want. And if you don't want that leader, talk about it later. Say, hey, you guys started playing musically like a chord progression before I was ready. I wanted to wait longer. So when you build trust, then you go, oh, she actually knows what she wants. I'll wait for her. Because you're not doing it to spite her or him. You're doing it because you're trying to serve. So again, it goes back to believing the best. So when it comes to MDs, leaders, learn what you want. Ask your MD. Ask what your options are. And maybe play through it. Oh, let's play through the chorus. Let's try the bridge. You know, ask people what they think and feel until you get a grid for what you love. And then they're going to learn what you love, and then they're going to learn how to serve you. Does that answer that question? Okay, great. My biggest pet peeve is when an MD thinks that he's right, and there is no right. Because often an MD isn't thinking like a worship leader, because a worship leader is thinking, we're going to hold the one for 10 minutes. An MD is not thinking, we are going to hold the one for 10 minutes. And the worship leader is onto something, feeling something in the spirit. And that is why we honor their point. So we learn to trust them. And following your leader off a cliff is also awesome. Giving your leader a chance to lead, even if it's terrible and bad and wrong, so they can learn, I don't like doing that. I don't want to do that again. And then you're like, great, now we don't have to have this conversation 10 weeks in a row. You fell off the cliff, I fell with you. We get to start over and never go off that cliff again. It's really great. Go ahead, yes, please.
I think one of the most humbling moments I've had in leading worship at Bethel was like people, I don't know, you get to play with people like Matt Ogden. I don't know if anybody knows who Matt Ogden is, but he's this genius, like ridiculous, could play anywhere guy. It's insane. Anywhere would be like, hey, you want to play this pop punk? You want to go Lollapalooza? Let's do it. Like he could do anything. And he's asking me, and this is how he does it, and I'm just so humbled as a leader, and I'll listen to him. Because he'll go, hey man, this is just a thought. Take it or leave it, doesn't matter. You, and he's just covered in humility. You went to the chorus, it was a little early. Do you want to do that? And I'm like, no, I did it wrong. I did it wrong. I made myself look like an idiot. And he just has so much knowledge and so much wisdom. And I looked at him and I was like, holy cow, this dude is drenched in humility. And there's so much favor that just gets poured out on him because not only is he so gifted, he's so humble at the same time. And everyone wants to play with him. Who doesn't want to play with Matt Ogden? He makes you so good. And another thing is being willing to win a battle and lose a war. And I think that's what we're doing. This is a team sport. And so I think for a lot of us, being right, you can still lose. I'm right. You're right. You are so right. And we lost. We still lost. We still lost connection. We still lost the point of what we were doing as this team. But you were right. As a worship leader, I was right. And I didn't listen to my band. I didn't fight for connection over the right choice. So.
Right. Yes, thank you for filling in that blank, because that's, I think that's the hardest thing is when we're focused on being right as a music director, as a band, there's a little bit of a shaming nature that we're directing toward the worship leader that's just learning, and it puts a lot of pressure on us to be further along than we are, and that's not a super fun environment to learn in. So, again, if we can think of the person learning, whether they're older or younger, as our little sister that we're just trying to help get better, it's awesome. It's awesome. So it's not about right, it's about how can I help you. Okay. Okay, awesome. I want you guys to do something. I want you to shut your eyes, and I'm going to read this over you about flowing with the Spirit. Flowing with the Spirit is like the image of a surfer in the ocean catching a wave. Through spending years in the ocean, you notice trends in the waves and can tell where they're heading. You can notice where the current begins to change, pulling you in and letting you know when the wave is coming. Your senses have been attuned to know when the wave will reach its breaking point, and through years of practice and experience, you learn to position yourself to sit in the perfect location to catch the wave. Your senses are also keen to know when to start paddling to catch the wave in stride. Suddenly, it's no longer you who are paddling. You catch the wave, and the power of the wave moves you forward, directing both your speed and destination. So it is with flowing in the Spirit. Through spending countless hours with the Lord in prayer, contemplation, scripture, and worship, we develop our senses: discernment, wisdom, understanding. Our spirits learn to discern changes in the atmosphere. We learn to position ourselves to be vessels of God's move. And in patience, we wait for the waves to come. Wisdom and discernment guide us in moving forward as we receive revelation, the wave. Then we allow that revelation to take us wherever God is leading. This is how we lead spontaneous worship. We develop our senses by simply spending time with God, understanding who He is and who we are in Him, knowing Him personally, knowing His personality, the way He moves, and just becoming familiar with our friend, Father, Lord, and King. As we worship, we should continually wait on the wave, looking for what God wants to do at that time. Then once the atmosphere starts pulling us in, we start paddling, start singing, start playing, whatever is on our heart. We catch the wave of revelation and let the Spirit guide us wherever He may lead. Isn't that cool? You can open your eyes. Isn't that awesome? I love it. And have any of you been surfing? I mean, I'm from California, so I've been surfing. No? Sad. There's no waves in the lake? Well, from California. But, I mean, so if you haven't, that is how it works. So when you're in the ocean, you have to learn how to read the waves. You have to, because otherwise they'll crash on your head and you'll go down. So you have to you have to learn, like, oh, hey, out there, that's where the big ones are. Great, let's swim out there. And then it's like, oh, actually, let's go out here. That's where the big one. You literally learn to read the water and the waves. Then you learn to feel it. You learn to feel, you're literally in the ocean and you're just kind of like bopping in the water, and you feel like, oh crap, that one that's coming, that one's gonna be really big. And you hop on your board and you get ready and you paddle out, and like when it's time, you jump up and you go. And so the point of this is there's a point where there's a lot that you're doing, your awareness of God, your awareness of the wave, and then there's a point where you're popping up and you're not doing anything anymore other than balancing on the surfboard. All you're doing is just, you're riding it. Its power is taking you. So I think what's fun about that, comparing it to spontaneous and prophetic worship, is there is a moment when you're leading prophetic worship where you're like, whoa, He's doing something. This is not about me and what I'm stewarding. I am riding the wave. And again, that's when someone else might take it. That's when like the room might take it. You might not even need to sing anymore or do anything. You might just get to lay on your face on the stage. And I don't know what you guys are a little more seeker sensitive than we are probably, but there's still a part of that that's like, I don't know who isn't drawn to like passionate adoration, but at the same time, it's pure. It's like, that's the point of worship. That's what we want out of that experience. So I do want to transition, and the way I want to transition is I want you guys I'm going to give you an exercise. So get out your phones or your Bibles. I want you to look up your favorite psalm, and I want you to rewrite your psalm in your own words. So, for example, I'll get out my Bible. Okay, I'm going to go to Psalms. In whatever translation you want, but so when you rewrite it in your own words, it's learning the language of your own self, of your own heart. So instead of reading, this is New Living Translation, "Oh Lord, you have examined my heart and know everything about me." I mean, sometimes it's more fun to do a different translation. NLT kind of already does it for you. Hold on. Let's go ESV. "Search me, O God, and know my heart." Or, "Oh Lord, you've searched me and know me." You know, when I sit up and when I sit down and when I rise up. So it's like, my own language is, God, I really want you to know me, like everything about me. Everything about me. So my own language, it's not even, I don't have to talk about sitting and standing and laying down and Sheol, you know? Just rewrite it. Yeah. What's that John Mark song? Sheol. Yeah, it's really good. Your John Mark is really good. Okay, so rewrite your song. We're just gonna do it for like 2 minutes.
As you're
Anyone?
writing, as you're writing, I think another thing is connecting with what feels authentic to you, not necessarily what feels artistic. So don't get caught up with the artistry of it, but the authenticity of it is best. What feels like a prayer to you versus pretty.
We're working on your language of your heart. So if you write Sheol, I'm gonna slap you.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I mean, unless you use that in a sentence in the last one, then you can use it. Also expand. You don't have to like word for word, it said this, you know, like expand on the thought. Like, what do you want to say about that thought? So if it's like, you know, when I sit down and when I rise up, you discern my thoughts from afar. I can just talk about like, God, isn't it crazy that you literally know what I'm thinking before I'm thinking it? You know the infinite thoughts I have had and will ever have. Like, I can just go off on this train of thought on God knowing my thoughts.
Give you like 30 more seconds.
willing to share their language for their song?
Do it.
Who's willing to share? Yes, let's do it.
Get it.
Okay, this is Psalm 91, 1 through 4. When God covers your heart, you are strengthened beyond human strength. You are using the muscle of God. You alone hold me together. Your hope gives me safety. You're it for me, God. I can only be me when I find myself in you. You protect me from the things I can't see and remind me of your great faithfulness. You protect my heart so fiercely that nothing can get in between us. I am covered no matter where I am or where I go. Love it.
So good.
Love it. One more? Yeah, come on up. That was awesome. Usually I have a big critique. I didn't have a big critique.
That was it. Yeah, that was awesome. That was really good.
This is Psalm 19. I didn't get very far. God's word is perfect.
Do it.
God's word is perfect and brings life to my soul. The ways of God can always be trusted, giving wisdom to what is simple-minded. The way of God's heart is always right and brings overflowing joy to my heart. His laws are radiant and bring everything into the light, which allows me to be able to see. Fearing the Lord is so pure and lasts for eternity.
So good.
So good. So what I love about that is she's really connecting with what she's writing, and that authenticity in spontaneous is the part that draws us in. So especially for a seeker-sensitive church, it's like just a little bit of that is like, oh, what's going on here? Like, what is this connection? It invites people into a deeper connection. So as you're reading, I'm like, I want to know more. What is your story? Like, why is that touching you and affecting you? So that right there is perfect, and just singing that is great in a spontaneous way. Taking whatever, so that's the idea, is we're taking the song. Is there a part of the song that you connect to that you can put in your own words? Like, oh, this line just hits me. So that's the idea. So we're actually why don't we, band and singers, jump up right now? We're gonna do this. So let's hear your songs. We're just gonna start, let's do the other one first.
Sweet.
What's that one, the other one?
Another than fire. Can I just say real quick? I don't know. I feel some a little anxiety in the room.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But maybe everybody's super chill and this feels awesome and super easy. But I just want to say you can't fail tonight. There's no failing. There's no right or wrong.
Amen.
All we're doing is we're connecting with our Father. We all have the same dad. We're all brothers and sisters. There's no right and wrong. If somebody fails, we're going to cheer. We're going to, woo! That was amazing.
Oh, yes.
Should we practice? We seem a little tired.
Yes.
Everybody's going, woo! That was awesome. That's what I want to hear whenever I fail. So,
So this is a teaching moment, a teaching experience. So there will be plenty to speak about, but we're going to activate this crew, but we're all going to learn from it. So with this, let's go ahead and let's do another in the fire, and let's start at the last chorus first.
let's do the last chorus.
So let's double it just to get into it. Who's leading it? Who's leading the song?
No, rock, paper, scissors.
Well, I'll have you guys both do it. So to activate with you. So Aaron, it's Aaron, right? Yeah. Just sing the final chorus twice through, and then go ahead and stay on the chorus chords, band, and then just think about why do you like this song? What about this song means something to you? So really quick, hang on one second. So here's the thing, when it comes to exploring, I want to give room for yucky, sing stuff that doesn't rhyme, sing stuff that doesn't maybe fit musically, rhythmically, let it be a sloppy mess. So, because the whole thing is that it's all the fear that gets us in the box where we're like, oh, I gotta fit into the parameters. Right now we're just trying to feel something. So let it be ugly, sloppy, let it not rhyme, let it not make sense, let it I mean, even if it's like biblically off, I'm okay with that too for now, because we've all said weird stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not in the Bible. That's not what I meant to say. So just the whole point of tonight is permission to explore. So I'm okay if we go off the cliff, because then we'll learn where the cliff is, then we won't go off it anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so ugly and messy is what I want. If it sounds nice, I'm gonna get you. Does that make sense? Woo! Hey! Woo!
Next to me, there'll be another in the water, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding, I've been set free. There'll be a cross that bears the burden, where another died. There's another in the fire, standing next to me. There is another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding, how good you've been to me, I'll count the joy come every battle. Your power lives in me. There'll be another in the fire.
Okay, great. Two things. So first of all, Danny loved the build. Also, when someone's learning prophetic, it might not be good to build straight away, because had it been me, actually, can you guys just hit that again, and I'll show you what I would have done if that's what my band did. So, and then we'll do two things. So, you guys can hear me. Can I sing on this? Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. I don't know the words. Na 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 na. Standing next to me, be another in the sun, holding back the sea. Should I ever need reminding? Da 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 da. So do that same thing that you just did with the bell. Where you be But do you like it?
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
Everything. It's just, I think for me, the way I relate to the song is, so I have a son, and his name is Oakland, and just how no matter what battle, no matter what trial he goes through, I'll always be there with him. So he knows that it's like when you're a little kid and you know, like, you're about to walk into a situation, like, no matter what, you know you have the victory because your daddy is with you.
Yeah. Okay, can you guys play that chorus again? Always be with me, no matter what I go through. You'll always be with me, no matter what happens. I still have the victory, no matter what I go through. You'll always be with me. You'll always be with me. I literally just took your words. So think about, keep playing, guys, and just think about what you just said or what you're feeling about the song and sing it. Does that make sense? Okay.
We have the victory, 'cause our Father is with me.
That's it. Good.
We have the victory,
Yeah, that's good.
'cause our Father is with me. We have the victory, 'cause my Father is with me. Don't come against me, 'cause my Father is for me. We have the victory, the battle is won. Don't come against me, 'cause my Father is with me. We have the victory, the battle is won.
And then jump up. And we have the victory. It's easy to feel it. And we have the victory. Oh, we have the victory. Can you jump up?
This is so good. Keep going, keep going. So right here you can go big bridge, sing rock,
Standing next to me, being better in the waters, holding back the seas. Sharing near and mighty, what power set me free. Is across the face of burning, nothing died for me.
'Cause we have the victory. We have the victory. You can bring it back to the thing. The victory. Yeah, so that was amazing. I mean, you literally like thought through. Go ahead and guys, that was great. So that was amazing, right? And you saw him like processing, like, what do I say? but you found a theme, right? You found a theme that was like, oh, this is like the point of why the song, like one of the points why the song matters. Another word that you said when you were sharing with me was the word daddy, and daddy could potentially rhyme with stuff. So like even, we have the victory, my daddy is with me, or because you are my daddy. Like saying words like that, we don't write them in the song, But when you're feeling it and you say it, words like that bring tenderness and power at the same time. So just being aware of that. So that's awesome. Like, I love it. I think we can jump to you doing the same thing. That was very brave of you.
So good.
What Bryce was saying.
My bad, dude. Go.
Well, yeah, no, what Bryce was saying is like, you're on this thing, and it, like, going back, I mean, he was thinking bridge, but also going back to chorus is great. So, we have the, and you're up in the octave, we have the victory, there'll be another in the fire. And you just, and you can, and Daniel, build it from there, you know, and it's like, it brings it, you go into this moment. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes. It's literally, I mean, like we could have done maybe 1 or 2 choruses length, and then we go back into a big chorus, and then a low chorus, or we have the victory, we have the victory, jump down to we have the victory, we have, and then victory, shimmer, 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 and then, and there you go. And it's just a simple minute or 2 of a thing where you get to express something deeper because you actually love this song and have a connection with it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And you guys felt it in the room, right? You felt it when you sang it. Yeah, great. Okay, did you have something?
I was just gonna say, be thinking, and this is for everyone, but be thinking in your mind, if you can, if you have like the layout of the song. Okay, I'm here, where do I wanna go? What are my options? The bridge holds a lot more tension in this song than the chorus does. I can hear the light in the darkness as the darkness bows to in. And I called it super late, bro. That was really
Wendy probably didn't hear you.
He didn't, but yeah, it's still good. No worries. But
Okay.
just like even, yeah, so knowing where you want to go, obviously kind of having a roadmap inside, you probably already did, I'm just more speaking, but a roadmap of, do I want to keep going? What feels, is this build tighter?
Yeah.
Or do I want to go down?
Yeah,
Or do I wanna
actually,
be-
let's do it really quick before we jump over. Let's do the upper octave. We have the victory, we have the victory, I can see the light. So go from we have the victory into the bridge, like what Bryce was saying. It's just so we, as a room, can feel what is the difference? What does it actually feel like?
You
Yeah.
should have thrown my hand signal.
Oh, did I not?
No, you did, you did.
Oh, dude, my
You
bad.
did.
Oh, that's my bad. Hey, that's my
Yeah.
bad. I didn't make eye contact though, so it's not my fault.
So big, Danny. Yeah. Upper octave.
We have the victory. We have the victory. We have the victory. We have the victory. And I can see the light in the darkness. When the darkness bows to him, I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between us. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls begin. Nothing's in between us. Nothing's in between. I'll sit right in your fire, standing next to
Okay,
me.
amazing, amazing. So what the cool thing is, so when he's already we have the victories up this octave, it's like big and it's big, and then he goes to a big bridge. It's like, okay, we've been big for a while. We don't need to go to a big chorus. And Danny brought it down perfectly. So it's like, okay. Now we can rest in the chorus and we can end the song. Does that make sense? Yeah, great job. Okay, let's do it again. You ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Just a mic check, just to make sure that everybody can hear these 2 mics. Your check, yeah.
Great.
Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
11.
11. 44.
Check 1, 2. Check 1,
44,
2.
what's the name of that guy on the back of your shirt?
Rizzo?
Rizzo. 44. Hey! What?
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Same place, Joe?
Let's do it again. Same place. Final chorus into some kind of what? How does it end? Does it end with
It
a big
ends with
chorus?
like this tag.
Nothing stands between us. Fresh out?
Yeah.
Let me the joy come every battle, because I know that's where it be. Let me the joy come every battle. So that's how it is. You can do that, or you can just, you don't necessarily need to do the tag. You can just go straight from a low chorus into
Yeah, what do you feel?
Yeah, we could try that. Do a little chorus into that and then
Great.
just feel it out.
Just swim around.
Okay, we will.
In the fire, standing next to me, there'll be another in the waters, holding back the seas. Should I ever need reminding of what you've been to me, I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. I count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. Count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where
Open
you'll
your eyes, Matt.
be.
And look at your band.
You'll never leave me.
So yeah, just connect with him like,
Oh,
hey.
Jesus, I see your face in the fire, Jesus. You'll never leave us. Oh, Jesus, you'll never forsake us. And I see you in the fire. Always, always.
Okay, now think of a theme of what you're singing about that we can join in with you. What's your
You'll
favorite part?
never leave us, and you'll never leave us, and you'll never leave us, and you'll never leave us. No matter what we do, no matter what we do, and you'll never leave us. No, you'll never leave us.
Good. Okay, let's end for a second. So same thing. Tell me about this song. So I'm already getting from this song, you love that he's saying he's always with me. He'll
Yeah,
never
like
leave.
when you're in the fire, he's there.
Yeah.
Like even if it's the worst possible situation, he's right there.
Tell me more.
Just like in life, like when you, even in your worst parts, you might not have known he was there, but like he was right there.
Okay.
And you might not have saw him, but he was there.
Okay. Keep talking about it. I already have some ideas. Tell me more.
I'm just trying to think like, just
Like
in
what's the worst? Like what?
like in a terrible circumstance where you literally feel so trapped and you have like no power left to give.
Yeah.
And you're just like, like in the fire, like when they were in the fire, like you might not have been burning, you know, everything around you was burning, but like you thought you were burning.
Yeah.
But because he was there, even if you didn't see him, you weren't.
Yeah.
But like you didn't
So
know
what's
that.
like a real life example of what that could be?
A real life example. I don't know, just like think about like just an anxiety issue, you know, like when you physically could not get past it. You had you look to the future and you're like, I can't do that.
Okay.
You know?
So to me, even your answer feels prophetic. I feel like because you're connecting with the song, and you can right at the beginning it was a little bit vague. It's a little bit all encompassing. The more specific you get, the more real it feels. So we don't want to like air out all our dirty laundry and be like, I was so anxious this weekend, I had a panic attack, and I thought the world was closing in on me, and I wanted to die. Like, we don't have to go there, but I felt something when you started to talk about it more specifically, like, oh, that's what you mean. The more generic it is, the more generic it feels, the less personal it feels. So when you can be a little bit more specific, so you said some stuff at the beginning. He'll never leave us no matter what's going on, even if we feel like we're burning. Like even that line, I'm like, oh dang, don't sing that. I mean, do sing that. No, I mean, don't, because like it'll be so powerful. It'll knock me out. So I'm like, yeah, like that's a powerful line. You're not gonna necessarily say that in real life, but maybe you will, especially if you're actually having a panic attack. You might feel like you're burning. And yeah, so sometimes it's okay, especially if it's a one-liner. Even if I'm suffocating, you'll be my breath. Even if I feel like I'm burning, you'll be my, what would be? You'll be the, I don't know, the fire hose. So, yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out. But, so even when you get to the anxiety part, like, with your presence, all anxiety is gone. With your presence, all fear begins to fade. In your presence, because you are with me, you never leave me. Whatever that thing was that you were saying. So, let's try it again. I want you to ask yourself the question as you're going, but what's an example of that? But what do I mean by that? But what's an example? So you're going to fish around for a little bit. So I just want you to sing like blah, 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 blah. Like whatever comes out, comes out. No rhyming. It doesn't need to, you can fumble over your words. I just want you to explore what you mean by your connection to this song in melody on the mic. Sloppy and gross. All right, here we go. Low chorus. Good job, band. So yes, I fed him the line, but that's the idea. It's like coming up with, you're singing about these things, what is the point? And to me, the point was that you're not afraid, to me. Yeah. There were probably 7 other points in there that you could have gone with, but I loved, and even the melody, I'm not afraid, has a little bit of a lift, has a little bit of victory in the melody, because it would have been different. It was, I'm not afraid now, it's like, oh, that's good. But I'm not afraid. It's like, whoa, okay. You know? And then as soon as I started singing it, Danny started building. So, I mean, that's like genius right there. Because he heard my voice. He heard me lift, and he's like, okay. Like, so musically, he's with me. And as soon as he starts to build the band's like, okay. So we're all in it together at that point, and it was awesome. So well done, band. And that, does that make sense?
Yeah, so the process is kind of like you're just singing your heart, and then when you kind of understand like what it's almost saying to you, or maybe a theme, you kind of make it more simple.
Yes,
kinda,
simplify so people can join in with you. So we're like, oh, we're hearing your journey and we're relating. Oh my gosh, yeah, even with this trial, even with this fear, even with this, yes, he is there, but like turning it into something that we can declare, turning it into the sound of victory, and melodically even lifting it so we can partner with that. So that was awesome. Well done.
Can I say something super quick? No,
Yes,
clap.
Yes!
That's so good. One thing I love as well, sometimes we can, so you see in Psalms, you see all of the Psalms, right? You have, let's say, Psalm 102, what I'm reading right now. Where are you, God? You don't care about me. You hate me. Psalm 103 is, he restores my strength. So let's lean maybe more on the side of let's sing out the 103 and experience the 102 ourselves. Does that make sense? So instead of like, which you did an amazing job, we are processing, I'm not critiquing, but I am saying the idea of to sing out, I'm in pain, where are you? Those kind of questions corporately can get a little funky.
Yeah.
Then but what you did was you turned it from that point, right? 102 turned into 103, and we ended up in I'm not afraid, right? So we're singing what people might be feeling, the opposite of what people might be feeling, in a prophetic way of saying, let's go out of this place into a new one. So that was awesome. Again, you were processing, so that doesn't count. But that just a thought.
Yeah, totally. And what Mandy and I were just talking about is that, and I was thinking of telling you this earlier, but when they grab on something, feel free other singers to be like, yes, microphone, I'm with you, like, and harmonize and go, like, that tells us as leaders, like, oh, we're on the same, you're with me in this. Like, so feel free to do that. I would say, I didn't say it yet just because I wanted to give them space to think and feel, but once we get to that point where it's like definitely chorus that we're all on, feel free to jump on harmonies. So let's switch songs, Promises Never Fail, so we can end on a little up note, and the ladies singing that song, I'm guessing. Great. Who's first? Oh my gosh, I love this song. I just hear that piano and I'm like, yes. I'm leading worship on Sunday. Just kidding. How does it end? Let's do both. Yeah, let's do big bridge and then let's do the chorus. Amen. So the third time, I will see it come to pass in your name. And it doesn't have like an extra bar or something.
Yeah.
And I know. Yeah. Very
Is
nice.
everyone on the same page with that? How many tags are we doing?
And then there's 3. Yeah, I can't see that.
Can we
No
just do
worries.
it? Can we just do it from that part? I will see it come to pass with the 3 times to bring it down. Great.
I will see it come to pass.
it come to pass in your name, in your name. And I know your thoughts. And we do the chorus, and then, so what was interesting about that though is because you did what you did, they stayed on the one, which is cool. So it's a different vibe than if you were just playing the chorus chords. So I think it's cool. I will see you come to pass in your name. Wait. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. You can still do the same thing and hang on the one, and then do exactly what you did. I would probably do that, hang on the one. And then, I don't know, band, so this is where, like, I'm like, band, what do you think? Bridge chords for spontaneous or chorus chords? Does anyone have a thought? Okay, great answer, great answer. So first of all, that's confusing. Second of all, the bridge kind of feels like it wants to build. So if we're just wanting to swirl a little bit, maybe not the progression and she can always go back to the bridge. She can always signal you and be like, oh my gosh, we gotta go back to this thing. But I would say yes. Or you could do the tag, your promises never fail, your promises never fail, and just stay on that tag progression. So that might be easy enough. But if you had a choice, what you think, which chord progression, what would you choose? Okay. What would you choose? Do you have any?
Chorus is what I would think.
Okay. So let's go ahead and we won't come out of the bridge this time. Let's just start with a low chorus, and then do you want to hang on the one, or do you want to just keep repeating the chorus?
Ooh, let's do the chords of the chorus. I want to see where that goes.
I think that's a great choice. So let's try it. So just low chorus.
I know your thoughts, your plans for me are good. I know you hold my future in my hope. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never You've been faithful every day of my life. You've been faithful. Sorry.
It's great.
You're doing so good.
So I want to explore something. Yes, this is great. You're connecting to it.
Oh, sorry.
Really quick, we're going to jump on that. So let's end for a second, band. What are you feeling?
Well, without disclosing my dirty laundry, as you said, there have been a lot of times in my life where God has been, I'm just going to testify.
Amen.
I can't do this and not have something to say. So there were years of my life where I knew Jesus. I didn't know Jesus' love for me. But he was always faithful, even when I was not. And every time I open my mouth to sing in the last 5 years, it just comes out like this because I'm so grateful. My life could be so different, and I will never be able to give enough thanks for what he's done for me. And so when I sing a song like this, like even when things feel so clouded and shrouded and I don't know where I'm going and I don't know what's next, like I can look back and the promises never fail. He has always been faithful and he will always be faithful.
Yes. So you ended that whole description with he's always been faithful, he will always be faithful. But as you were describing, you used a lot of words that didn't have the word faithful in it. Faithful is a great word. It can also be kind of a go-to, easy choice, which could mean lacking depth because it's such a common word. It's more basic, it's more generic. It's like, what does that mean to you? So I heard what that meant to you, and you had a lot of things that you said that could have just been grabbed. Even when I look back, you know, I can see what you've done in my life. You can turn that into a song. You said things about, what else? Did you guys pick up any themes? I heard a couple. I'm trying to remember. What is it? Not knowing where she was going. Even the concept of he's always been with you, he always will be. Constant. So when you start describing it, different words are coming out that don't feel overused and churchy and in every worship song ever. And that's the thing, is that when you say you are faithful, you mean something. There's a whole story behind it. I want to put that into language, into your song. Does that make sense? What? No, you process this on the mic, because the issue isn't talking to your friends about it. You can talk about it all day. The issue is, how do I get that out of my mouth into a song? So you actually have to practice up here. That's why I had them like, hey, just give me your babble. Just give me the story. Give me the story. Put it in a melody. Don't let it rhyme. Don't let it make sense. I don't care if it's on time or in time. So let's try it one more time. Also, I want to try something else. I want to try the tag chords. Your promises never fail, your promises never fail. And I want you guys to hear the difference in where it went musically. So, low chorus, and stay on those tag chords for your promises never fail. Here we go.
I know your thoughts, your plans for me are good. I know you hold my future and my hope. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. When everything else falls away, when everything else falls away, you are constant, Jesus. You are constant, Jesus. When everything falls away, I see your face. When everything falls away, I see your
Go ahead and
face.
take the microphone off the stand, and you can set the paper down. Go ahead. And turn a little bit toward your band. Turn. Yeah.
See your face when everything falls away. I see your face. You've been faithful to me, God, and you will always be. You've been faithful to me, God, and you will always be.
So find something. Okay, hang on. So here's the thing. So this is maybe to Danny, maybe to you, maybe to band. So she had a theme, so you started to build, but as soon as you started to build, she started to explore. So it's difficult, just so you guys know, for my brain anyway, it's difficult to, once you're building, I'm like wanting to grab a theme and run with it. So it's difficult to explore and find a theme when I'm like, oh crap, musically, we're at the place where we need a theme. And she's exploring. So if you hear her lyrically, like, oh, it feels like she hasn't found her chorus yet, don't build. Even though you're about to, like, oh, we just built a little, okay, we'll stay here now. Instead of like, well, I guess we started the build, I guess we'll keep going. Because that puts me in a box to like, okay, I gotta find a chorus. Now, had that happened in real life, I would have found a chorus. I would have just, okay, we're building. I'm not going to keep exploring because then it's like, it feels really disjointed. So when they're like starting to build, do that build one more time. Start low. And do you guys also feel the difference between the chord progression? I personally like this one. I think this is what I do when I lead this song. I just stay on this because it has like a little bit of life on it. It doesn't feel as like serious. It's, yes, yes, it would be, well, this is, so his question is it up to her to not build yet? So this is where we feel it out in practice and then we talk about it. So essentially this is the talking about it part, like, hey, I was still figuring it out. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll give you a little bit more time. So now they know, okay, once she comes up with a chorus, that's when we can start building. So that, yeah, that makes sense. So let's go back to that tag chorus, or tag chord progression. So what were you saying?
Everything falls away. I see you. Is that it?
Yeah. When everything falls away, see your face. Something like that. So now go ahead and explore a little bit lyrically. What else? What else?
What's behind me, God? It doesn't matter anymore. What's behind me, God? It doesn't matter anymore. I'm looking ahead. I'm looking ahead. I'm looking ahead. I'm looking ahead.
And then what's the bottom line? What's the point? Like, what's your favorite part of this song? Why do you love this song?
That no matter what
You guys can keep
is
playing.
on the sight that I can see, like, God has better things for me than I imagine for me.
Yeah. What?
Greater than I can ask or imagine. Something along those lines.
Yeah. So you're searching, and then how for me is always better, and what you have for me is always better. And you look at Danny. Look at Danny.
What you
Look at Danny.
have for me,
And nod. Yep. Eye contact. Say yeah, boy.
what you have for me is always
And look at Danny like, come on.
what you have for me is always better. What you have for me is always
And just sing. And then you keep going. Chorus, chorus. And I know your thoughts, your plans for me are good. And I know you hold my future in your promises never fail. Promises never fail. Your 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 promises never fail. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Lift up a shout of praise. So amazing, amazing. So for me, it's like, yes, we're singing the thing. What were we singing?
You have so much better.
What?
What you have so much better? Are you asking?
Yeah, so much better. Yeah. So sometimes I just want to like, yeah, and just kind of, and just kind of like worship. Yeah. You know, so you're saying the thing, but you don't have to keep saying the thing. So that's what I did that just to show you there's another option. And then just because like it felt like, oh, I guess we're at the end of the thing. I'm like, I wasn't ready to be done. I just kept on wanting to sing His promises never fail. Then we have options. So I'm thinking ahead. Are we ending big? Are we ending low? Like, what are we doing? And so I actually wasn't sure yet. So I'm like, hey, we're just going to keep doing that tag because I'm not ready. So I kept my tag fingers and I kept looking in this direction like, hey, anybody, if you're curious where we're going, we're still here. We're still here. So it's really important that our back isn't to them in these moments. This is not, it's fine if your back is to them when we have a song structure, but when we don't, turning to the side is saying, hey, we're in this together, this is what I'm thinking, and I see you, and I'm feeling, and it's not always eye contact. Sometimes that's too much for me, and I can't think what I'm thinking if I'm also looking at them. But also, there are moments where I'm like, oh, yeah, this is what I want, and I'll make sure, because if his head is down here, it's like, I'm in trouble. Like, I have to know, are you with me? And when I know, oh, yeah, you saw my tag, good. As long as you guys saw my tag, you have the microphone, and you have the kid, so we're good. So after that, you know what I mean? So it still might be weird if the other guys don't see me, but still, we're still doing this. Are we ending big? Are we ending low? Your promises never fail. And then knowing that you can, I don't know if you guys do that, lift up a shout of praise. Hallelujah. Oh, we love you. And they're hanging on the one at that point, so you can just exhort and just praise, like high praise at that point, because you're like, oh my gosh, you're so good. Because that's what just happened when you were singing.
I have a technical question.
Sure.
So a lot of times when we lead, you have the click and you have the cues and all these things.
Yeah.
So typically then drummer, if he sees me going a different direction, he's just gonna cut.
Yes.
Okay.
Keep the click the same, but as far as like
Right.
cues and stuff,
Yeah.
I think that's a conversation you should have beforehand. Be like, hey guys, a lot of times if I know there's cues in the song,
Yeah.
and certain tracks are gonna fire, I don't want to be like, no, let's just repeat it, and then the drummer's like, dude, I have a tambourine that's just gonna randomly start shaking. So, but having that conversation beforehand, hey, is this feel like she's saying, does this feel like a good place to flow? And they'd be like, actually, it will be in a second. Let me change something so that we can facilitate what you want to do.
Okay.
That's a great question. And then a lot of times at the end of a song, if you want to go into, that can be a good time for like a moment if you're feeling something, because you can kill tracks and then kind of just flow as a band. It is a bit odd when tracks disappear in the middle of like a high moment, because it's a and you're like, where did that go? That's weird. But like exactly, that's a great question. Does that make sense?
And often, by the time we get to the spontaneous part, we're cutting the tracks anyway.
Exactly.
Definitely keep the click at all times.
Yes.
For sure. Like, that will be home base for everyone. We don't want to get sloppy and weird just because we're...
And we never do. Let me just throw that out.
Oh, that's great.
But I just like, yeah, wanted to have that in my head.
Totally. Yeah, great. That was awesome. Yay! Okay, last but not least, same thing. So let's do, just because it's getting late, let's just go ahead and start on that last chorus with the tag, and let's stay on that chord progression, that taggy chord progression.
Your thoughts, your plans for me are good, and I know you hold my future and my hope. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail.
Okay, real quick, I'm gonna say, at this point, this is where I would go, hey guys, at the end of that, I'm gonna let you just play for a little bit while I feel. So, because right now it just felt really empty. It felt like, now what are we gonna do? So keys was in, but I would say definitely guitar, start doing some twinkles and swells and whatever you feel to fill space. Like, basically, consider it like an instrumental. Like, we're gonna be, the song's not over, you're gonna stop singing, but the band, you have to carry it because you know, oh, she's gonna stop singing now. So let's do it one more time. Whole low chorus into the tag, and then as soon as she's done, you guys kind of lift it. Not a lot, don't build too much, just show up like, oh, we're here. Cool, let's try it again.
And I know your thoughts, your plans for me are good, and I know you hold my future and my hope. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. No, no, no.
Yes. like, it didn't feel like they were totally sure what to do there. So, which is okay. Yeah, a couple of things. I like it. It felt really good. It felt like you were onto something. I gave you an idea, not that you had to repeat it, but just to show, like, you don't know failure, and you're singing it out. You don't know failure. So that's like a truth, and I love the idea of it. I love the concept of it. It feels creative, but the other side of it, it's like telling someone like, oh, you're not a loser. That's so cool. Like, you also want to tell them, you're a winner. You know what I mean? So, like, there's a different language, and sometimes something can have a connotation that's just a little bit in this direction, that when you spin it, it fills in the gaps, and it, like, completes the picture. So, I think I would love to hear you expand a little bit more on the thought. You did a little bit on the front end, and Bryce had some thoughts on that too. Go ahead and jump into that.
Yeah, so I loved it. I thought you signaled the band really well. Every time I was like, okay, what is she doing next? You started moving towards a signal. Yes.
I want to jump on that too, though. You did give a good signal for the chorus. However, you have to know when it's a little bit of a left turn, like going back to the chorus here is going to feel like, so eye contact. Huh?
Like it's too quick to make the transition?
Yeah, like when you signal and also getting eye contact. So a couple people saw, a couple people didn't. I mean, that's part of why we have an MD mic, which is great, and the MD will get better at like learning how to read you, what you want, and what to communicate and that sort of thing. So that's always tricky. You're doing great. You're doing great. No, it's a big deal for me to go to chorus right now. It's gonna be awkward. I wanna make sure everyone has my attention, and if everyone doesn't, the guy with the microphone does. And be like, we're doing this, make sure to tell them. And so that transition wasn't smooth, because I think people weren't totally ready for it. And if you give your signal a little bit earlier, a little bit more eye contact, a little bit more confident, like, hey, we're changing it up. So I don't know if you saw me earlier, there was something, I think it was on somebody else's song, and I was like running over to Danny like, hey, are you seeing me right now? We're gonna do this. I'll do that on stage. I'll literally be like, hello, yeah, good, okay. Like, actually. And then it builds trust, because it's like, oh, phew, she's totally communicating with me. Okay, and then Bryce is back.
Assume nothing, no assumptions. All right, they know that. No, they don't. And then also you started singing, I Know That I Can Trust You. And so another thing that is awesome for worship leaders is having back pockets of tags that you can just pull out anywhere. Know that I can trust you. I know that I can. You may not know that, but it's.
Do you know that song, United Pursuit?
It's just a United Pursuit song. Again, you don't know it, so that's not fair. But the idea that tag is kind of a built-in prophetic thing that you're feeling, that 9 times out of 10, most of the room is going to know. So there's this immediate buy-in versus learning a new thing, which can be cool sometimes. Of like, everyone knows it already, let's go, and then you can take that through rather than bringing someone. Does tags make sense? I'm assuming it's making sense, kind of, sort of. From a different song.
Yeah.
So yeah, go.
Well, yeah. Can you guys play that chord progression again? I'll sing the tag that we're thinking of, but if you guys, anyone in the room, can think of a tag that goes with this chord progression, let me know. Raise your hand or something. Know that I can trust. So this is a United Pursuit song. If anyone listens to United Pursuit, know that I can trust. Know that I can trust. Know that I can trust. So if we sang it at our church, people would know it. But then you could expand on it. And I know that I can trust you. I know that I can trust you. I know that I can trust you. And then you can jump the octave later. But you guys, I'll keep playing band. Is anyone hearing a tag from another song you already know that you do hear? sense from where we were at thematically. So do you guys think it does? I could be wrong. Is there a dot connection, or is it just, yeah? So we don't want to just pick a song that we know. We want to pick a song that connects. So your promises never fail. Or is there anything other songs about trust? Is there other songs about even just think of the song and we can adjust the melody. Yeah, what?
Rich Cry Will Run.
How does it go?
My refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust.
Okay, but try it. Do you know it? Play that chord progression again and let's see what happens.
Fortress, my God in whom I trust. No harm will come against me. God, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. No harm will come against me. Your love has covered us. You're my refuge and my fortress.
Right?
My God in whom I trust. No harm will come against me.
Okay, so just for the sake of time, let's start to build. You're my refuge and my fortress.
My God in whom I trust. No harm will come against me. Your love has covered us. My refuge and my fortress. My God in whom I trust. No harm will come against me. Your love has covered us. Your thoughts, your plans for me are good, and I know you hold my future and my hope. Your promises never fail. 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 Your promises never
Awesome. And then you can always do this. Hang on the one, hang on the one, hang on the one. I don't have a click, but I know. Where's it? Oh yeah, you can do that. So you're just hanging, and you think the song's over. And so you can just you can start it over after it's done. This is just the last little tidbit. Never fail, your promises never fail. So even though it felt like, yeah, we ended it really big, and you're like, actually, I'm not done. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Everyone sing with me. Your promises never fail. 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 You guys can keep singing. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Hang on 1 second. Right there, if I was on stage, I would have been like, oh my gosh, we're getting bigger. I would have come off the mic, I would have looked straight at my guitar player and been like, shred! And then he would have gone for it. So I think that's a good place for us to land. Do you guys think that's a good place for us to land? Should we do 2 minutes of Q&A or call it a night? Do you guys have any burning questions? I know it's like way later than we planned on being here. Are there any burning questions? Because if you guys are burning with tiredness, then I get that too. It's only 7:47 in my body. Sorry? No, it's just vocals for the rest of the weekend. Yeah, yes?
I have just a question kind of unrelated to this, but I just see everyone up here they're very confident, and I know I just kind of started, so I don't know how to build that confidence.
Yeah, that's when do you play piano or guitar? Okay, so that's when you find a friend or a family member that plays piano, and you just say, hey, Dad, can you just play the choruses, promises never fail? Like, great, okay, great. So that's perfect. So you just have someone play, and you just sing what you're feeling. Or you can always get a recording of songs or just music, or you can just have Dad play it like 10 times into your voice memos, and then go in your room and be like, what am I thinking? What am I writing? I don't know what to say right now, but God, you do. Okay, I love you too. Thanks for telling me right now. I needed to hear it. As you're just like listening to the chord progression and figuring out how to get your thoughts into words. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's so much nicer to do it off stage. They're very brave. Hey, let's just give it up for the band and the singers tonight. Very brave, very brave. Well done. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Bryce and Joanna. Right? And Danny, sorry. He's back there, so I forgot. Okay, so this is a little later, but we'll see you guys in like 12 hours. Tomorrow morning, we are going to have donuts and coffee at like 9:30, and then at 10 we'll start. It's basically like going to be a vocal masterclass. I sent an email kind of like telling you guys all about it and what it's going to be like. So if you're in the band and you're like, I don't think that's for me, but you like had the best time tonight and you think they're so great, you can still come. Everybody's welcome. And invite somebody. Honestly, if you know somebody that you're like, oh, I wish they were here tonight, invite them tomorrow. It's going to be really fun. There's no limit on how many people. I mean, I think this auditorium seats about 700, so invite everyone you know. But I think it's going to be really great. I'm super excited, so thank you for being here and hanging with us. And we'll see you literally in 12 hours or less. What are you saying with what? Danny? Okay, you're talking to them. Cool. See you guys tomorrow.